Just a quick housekeeping note before I start. I will be doing weekly recaps of Riverdale every Friday, so tomorrow. It is the final season, so I thought that might be fun. Anyway, if you're interested in that, see you tomorrow. On to the recap of episode 6 of School Spirits. This episode opens with Simon being upset at Maddie because she's going to the homecoming dance with Wally. Wally's a jock, so Simon asks Maddie, with a lot of disdain in his voice by the way, "Who are you?" As in, when she was alive, Maddie would never go for a jock, she'd more go for the Xavier type. But come to think of it, Simon really disapproved of Xavier as well. By the way, for all the American shows I watch, I don't know the difference between homecoming and prom. Claire's friends think it's gross that she's going to the homecoming dance with Xavier, but she says that he's hot, he's original, and he's been through a hard time. When the girls start discussing Maddie's disappearance then, Claire gets a weird look on her face. I'm going to say that about a lot of characters this episode. It's the episode of weird suspicious looks. Xavier tells Cy and Nicole that Claire has agreed to go to the dance with him, and with Maddie invisible and coaching Simon what to say, he tells Xavier that they'll get Claire to admit what she did. Simon also says something a little bit callous then. We need to know if she, Claire, smashed Maddie's phone and what else she smashed, like Maddie's head. Cy tells Xavier that he needs to charm Claire into a confession. While looking for outfits for the homecoming dance, Maddie asks Rhonda if ghosts can have sex. Rhonda says yes, they've been going through puberty for decades and they have needs. That's when Rhonda realizes that Maddie is still a virgin. Just then, Wally very adorably appears to ask Maddie if she's still up for going to the dance together, and she is. Claire finds Xavier in the boys' locker room and she wants to know why he sent that text now, inviting her to homecoming. He says that he wrote the text out a while ago, it just took him a while to press send, and he says that he feels bad about the way that he treated her and he misses her. Charlie's letter to Emilio is 16 pages long, front and back, and it's a little much. Maddie gives him a little pep talk and she gives the letter back to him to work on. He should lose the "I've been watching you for 28 years" part. Maddie sees on Xavier's phone that Claire sent him a thirst trap kind of text. Xavier goes over to Simon then and he says that he thinks that Claire's playing them, that he feels as though he's walking into a trap, but Simon says that Xavier owes Maddie, so they need to go through with this. Nicole helps Xavier go shopping for a suit to the dance. She looks distracted and hella guilty, kind of like that look she had last week when she was busy opening her boot. Maddie's mom still believes that she's coming back, and obviously Simon can't tell her that she isn't. She tells him then that she always thought that it would have been nice if Simon and Maddie went to the dance together, because they were best friends. Simon gets this look on his face, and yeah, that's what I meant by a lot of characters are giving a lot of looks. It kind of muddies the waters, because everybody except for Xavier looks suspicious. Wally comes and picks Maddie up for the homecoming dance in a golf cart. She looks really pretty in her dress and he's sharp in a suit. He even gives her a corsage that he made out of paper and it has this football number on it. That was a thing in the 80s, he says. Claire's over at Xavier's house to pick him up for the dance and she hands Xavier's dad a check for $3,000 from her parents to support his re-election. Claire's definitely up to something, and for some reason I'm really starting to enjoy her character. I kind of want her to mess with Simon and Nicole a bit especially. Anyway, she politely digs around for information about the investigation into Maddie's disappearance, but of course the sheriff is not going to give anything away. Simon and Nicole are at the dance looking at the framed photo of Maddie that Cy arranged to have there. He admits that he once thought about he and Maddie, but he shut that down because she's his best friend. And he says that the stakes are too high as he lightly touches the photo. I don't know if it's because I'm just suddenly paying too much attention to him and reading into everything, but he's weirding me out this episode. More than usual. On the way to the dance, Claire pulls over and questions Xavier about palling around with Nicole. People have seen it. And he says that, well, she was just Maddie's best friend. Simon is speechless when he sees Maddie in her prom dress. Yeah, he definitely underplayed his more than friends thoughts about Maddie. Simon has Charlie's letter transcribed to real World of the Living paper so that he can give it to Emilio, and Maddie tells him to tell Emilio that he found it in between the pages of a library book. Wally and Maddie are having an okay time, but Maddie is kind of preoccupied with Xavier. She sees a hickey on his neck. I guess she didn't expect Xavier to actually continue hooking up with Claire, so this is upsetting. Quite interesting as well as the expression on Nicole's face. I don't know if she's developed a crush on him, or it could be that she's just surprised that he's getting kind of cozy in the setup. Xavier tells Claire that they found Maddie's backpack in a building that her dad owns, and he finds that odd. He tries to get her to talk, but Claire's too smart to fall for the bait. She gives a non-response, and then she shuts down all talk of his ex-girlfriend. Wally, who is fast becoming the highlight of these episodes, puts on a little dance with his sunglasses on in the middle of the dance floor of the homecoming dance. It's a pretty fun moment, and Charlie's having a good time too. This was really wholesome. Claire asks Xavier how he knew about the backpack, and he tells her that that's the perk of living with the sheriff. He says to her that she already knew about the bag, and she says, well, her dad told her. He asks her if she's been back to that house. Remember in last week's episode when Xavier was there, he spotted somebody running off into the darkness? Well, yeah. Also, Xavier and Claire used to hook up at that house, and she says that she doesn't go to that house alone. Maddie and Simon are both being really irritating, pressuring Xavier to ask Claire more questions. Sandra, Maddie's mother, calls Simon then, and he rejects the call, kind of cruelly saying that Sandra needs to find friends her own age. But just then she calls Nicole as well and tells her that she heard someone or something outside of the house in the backyard, and she thinks that it might be Maddie. Look at how Simon really wants to be in on it after he rejected her call. Although, let's be charitable, he could just be concerned, as in genuinely worried about Sandra's safety. Anyway, Nicole decides to go over to Sandra's house. Simon gives Emilio the letter. Claire asks Xavier what game he's playing. He flirts with her and suggests that they get out of there. Maddie is staring at them flirting, and Wally says that he thinks that it was probably a bad idea to come to the prom together because he thinks she isn't ready to be dead yet. She points out that she's only been dead for 2 weeks. Oh, this sucks for Wally, but he's a really good sport about this. Part boy and part golden retriever, as Rhonda puts it. Claire and Xavier are making out in what looks like the boiler room. Just then she catches him pressing record on his phone. Xavier shows Claire the video of her and Mr. Anderson, and basically she needs to explain herself now. She says that she found out he stole money and she saw this as an opportunity and she took it. She thought that Maddie took the video and she wanted to delete the video from Maddie's phone, which is why she took it. And that's why she gave Maddie's phone to Mr. Anderson, because she couldn't unlock it, and told him to pay Maddie off, give her whatever she wanted. She swears that that's the extent of her involvement. Then she talks about the pressures she's under to be perfect, and I believe her. I believe all of it. And when she says she didn't hurt Maddie or knows what happened to her, this does come across as very sincere. The police find a partially bloody crowbar in the woods, and this immediately made me think of Nicole's guilty look when she opened her boot last week. Emilia reads the letter from Charlie, and Charlie sobs while watching him from a distance, but he's glad that this could happen. It's some kind of closure for both of them. There's a really, really pretty song playing in the background of this scene, by the way. Maddie sees Xavier and Claire come back to the homecoming dance, and they look really close, not just in a flirty way, but in a potentially emotionally connected way. They're actually really good together, and I like this. She's also crowned prom queen, and this was what she really wanted, but she looks so sad here. Simon is livid, and Xavier tells him that he believes Claire. Back at Sandra's house, Xavier's dad comes over with some news. They found something else, a possible murder weapon near the empty house where they found Maddie's backpack. They traced the crowbar to somebody at the high school who has been brought in for questioning. Is that the school custodian, the janitor? Anyway, Mr. Anderson does have a solid alibi though, so it's not him. I'm kind of hoping that the murderer is not him because we don't really know or care about this character, so it would be a bit of a shrug if he did it. I mean, it would still be tragic because Maddie died, but we're not invested in this character anyway. Maddie's mom, Sandra, crumbles to the floor. Her hopes of Maddie coming home are crushed. After having a little talk, Charlie eventually suggests that Maddie focus on the person she came to the dance with, Wally. She goes out to him then, and he's on the lawn singing, and she comes by and she sings the rest of the song. She apologizes, saying that she should have been honest with him about everything going on, and she didn't want to ruin his night. He says there's no need to apologize, and she kisses him then. Then they kiss each other. This episode has such a good balance of everything. Sai is part of the cleanup crew at the dance, and just then Maddie shows up and they overhear two teachers talking about the possible murder weapon and how Mr. South was the only one with access to the tool cabinet. Rhonda is also looking very panicky, looking around for something in the basement. Sandra is home alone, and the latest development in Maddie's case causes her to relapse and she starts drinking. Oh, Sandra. At the end of the episode, we see Nicole's boot open and she's burying something in the woods. If it's not the crowbar, which obviously it isn't, and it's not Maddie's body, because no way she's driving around with a body for 2 weeks. What is it? And yeah, that's episode 6 of School Spirits. Another really strong episode. We didn't see Mr. Martin this week, and I was kind of waiting for him to show up. But yeah, maybe it's good that they keep that suspense as well. What was Rhonda looking for? I was pleasantly surprised by Claire and Xavier. Wally and Charlie are consistently great. And yeah, if you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts, and thank you for watching.